Thanks for joining us on our streaming service for your First Alert Drought Alert. I'm your First Alert meteorologist, Callie Zanandri. Some good news showed up this week's drought monitor following last week's May snowstorm. The biggest shift came in extreme drought, which dropped 11%, improving conditions in portions of Denver, Douglas, Arapahoe, and Jefferson counties, and much of northeast Colorado from extreme to severe drought thanks to the recent snow. Now, as Colorado continues to battle drought conditions and increasing pressure on water supplies, many homeowners are rethinking what their yards should look like. Joining us today is Scott Curry from Colorado State University to talk about the push to reduce non-functional turf and how small changes in our lawns can make a big difference in water conservation across the state. Thanks for being here, Scott.
Thank you, Callie.
Yeah, well, let's get started. First, explain what you mean by non-functional turf.
Wonderful. So non-functional turf essentially means turf that is really only there for aesthetic value. It doesn't have that really strong social value that you would see for things like parks, ball fields, golf courses. Things like that that have additional value outside of aesthetics are those functional spaces, and non-functional sides of roads, front yards, planting strips. Those are areas that we would consider non-functional.
And why is reducing traditional grass lawns becoming such an important issue in Colorado?
So it's becoming a really important issue because about 7% of all water used in Colorado goes to domestic uses. And roughly about 40 to 50% of that domestic use goes to outdoor uses, and the primary water user is going to be cool season turf grass. Bluegrass, to be exact, in many cases.
And that uses a lot of water. How much water can homeowners actually save by replacing parts of their lawn with drought-tolerant landscaping?
So it's kind of a big question there, but like my research would indicate that on a 1,000 square foot basis, you would use about 40,000 per year on 1,000 square feet of turf. And if you were to convert that to drought-tolerant landscapes, you're going to take your water use down to about 7,500 gallons per year. And if you do it right and you have the proper conditions, you could actually get the whole 40,000 and become totally unirrigated, which is a goal that we are trying to push for, is a net zero irrigation outlook.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Now, big question for people. How expensive is it to transition from a traditional turf to low water landscaping?
So it really depends on the complexity of your design, the density of plant material, some of the other things that you select. But a Colorado Water Board report would indicate that it's going to be anywhere from between $5 and $10 per square foot in order to convert your turf grass. So that's going to be cutting your grass, haul away, install of plants, mulch, some of the other things that are necessary to make a really awesome front yard landscape.
Are there ways to maybe save a little money doing that?
Yeah, so one of the big ways that you can start to save is looking at some local rebates. So many municipalities, Aurora, Castle Rock, Denver, Fort Collins, they have programs that are intended to blunt the cost of this a little bit. So check out your local municipality and see if they offer some rebates. And then one of the other things is DIYing. If you have the sort of
elbow grease
to want to get in there and do some of those landscaping tasks and get your hands dirty gardening, DIYing is one of the most effective ways that you can save some cost while doing this.
Yeah, well, great. Now, many people worry that low water landscaping looks unattractive. It's going to be rock and cactus. What do you tell them?
So absolutely not. So we're taking the word xeriscape and that's kind of going away. We're converting that to Coloradoscape. And what a Coloradoscape really is a beautiful, colorful, lush landscape that uses those regional plants that people really love. Think of those really beautiful wildflowers that have tons of color in them, using some cactuses, grasses, all these different things that can create that attractive landscape and make our state so beautiful.
Now, beyond saving water, what are the other benefits?
So there are some other really great benefits on the ecological side. We can create pollinator habitats. We can reduce urban heat island effect. Obviously, water savings is one. You can actually add some value to your home with a really well-maintained, well-installed xeriscape or Coloradoscape installation. Some studies indicate anywhere between 5 and 12% you can gain in property value if you do a good job with a well-installed Coloradocape.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, many people, like myself, because I have kids and I have a dog, they still want lawn space for their kids to play on, their pets to play on. What lower water grass options or alternatives are available for homeowners who still want that functional green space while conserving water?
Wonderful. So as far as some of the plants that are now available, there is a new cold hardy Bermuda grass out of Oklahoma State that is called Tahoma 31. That is a warm season grass, and that can reduce your water use by roughly 30%. If you manage your irrigation, even more in certain scenarios. So some municipalities are already using that very effectively. I know on ball fields like the city of Aurora is already using some of those. So that's going to be a big push in even some of our functional spaces going forward. You're going to see more Bermuda grass, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like a great option. Now, for homeowners who want to start small, what's the first step? Because sometimes this can be kind of overwhelming for folks, and like we mentioned, it can be kind of expensive. So what would you recommend for people to get started?
First thing to do before you get started is educate yourself and plan. Before you just get in there and start tearing out your front lawn, visit a garden center, visit somebody even at the Botanic Gardens where they have classes. Get educated about this particular subject. Learn a little bit about the plant material, learn about some of the landscape materials. And if you are daunted by this task, I would recommend getting in touch with a designer or just a landscape professional. Those folks are going to help guide you on your journey, and that's going to help you get the best results out of your front yard.
And you said you did this yourself in your front yard.
Yes,
Tell me
I
about
did.
your experience.
So I did do this, and I am a landscape architect by trade, so I don't want to oversimplify this, but I really started with just a napkin sketch, and I used a lot of local materials, so local granite, river rock, things like that. I also have a really large tree in my front yard, so it's actually a dry shade installation. Makes the planting a little bit more difficult than just like full sun. So just going back to people getting prepared to do this, make sure you evaluate your conditions. If you have full sun, it's really, really easy to plant for. There are so many wonderful selections. If you have a little bit trickier situation, definitely evaluate that. But I had a fun time. I love gardening personally. Like, I would definitely trade pushing a lawnmower for picking a few weeds in my xeriscape every year. I think there's actually a really great mental health aspect about interacting with plants and trimming and just getting away from the digital world that we are so accustomed to now.
Yeah, well, great tips, Scott, and I hope that more people move in this direction for the water savings.
Yeah, definitely. The more people that do that is when this really, really stacks up. There are billions of gallons of water that can be saved if people really start to adopt this type of landscape, but it takes people actually doing it. It's a little bit at a time to get that water. The aggregated effect is kind of what I've called that.
Yeah, every drop matters. Well, we will see you back here next week for your drought alert.